If you've ever wanted to create an interactive report in Power BI without overcomplicating things, you are in the right place. Hey everyone, Issy here, and today we'll be creating this report visualizing the distribution of different mental health disorders across populations in the globe, and I'll guide you step by step. By the end, we should have a fully interactive report. Let's dive in. Today, it's an overview of mental health data from 1990 to 2019. I got this data set from Kaggle, and these are just a few visuals as well as slicers here. So let's just have a quick look at the interactivity. So if I click on Africa, for instance, it shows you the top 5 countries with mental health prevalence, and the map also changes to show you where Africa is located, as well as the yearly mental health trend and disorder. So if I click on, let's say, depression in Africa, that changes as well. So it just keeps changing, and then I can also select a year as well just to see what's happening, and then it keeps changing. So let's go to Power BI desktop and create this. I've imported the data set into Power BI desktop, and this is Power Query where I'll do a little bit of cleaning. This data set has the country, this is the location where data was collected, and then we have the continent, and then the year. Then we have the disorders, and these disorders also have the percentage of people affected by each of them. So the first thing I want to do is rename them to better column names. So I'm just going to start with this one and just name it countries, and then I'll move on to the disorders, and then I'll name this one schizophrenia. I'll move on to depressive disorder and name this depression, and I'll just do it for the rest of them. So anxiety, bipolar disorder, eating disorder. I've renamed all of them now. So we have countries and the disorders. Because of the way the disorders are here, we wouldn't be able to use this properly. So I would need to unpivot the columns. What that means basically is convert this into rows. So what I'm going to do now is I will hit shift, I'll click on this and hit shift and then right click, and you should see here on pivot order columns, that's the disorders, and then we have the disorders and the value. So I don't need this column, which is the code for the countries. I'm just going to remove it and then rename this one to disorder, and then maybe share of population here. So this is it. And because this is a percentage, right, to avoid any issues when we start creating our visuals, I'm going to change this from percentage. So how do I do that? I would just go on to transform, and then you can see standard here, and then I'll divide it just to remove the percentage. I'll divide that by 100 and then hit OK. And then we have it as this. So that's all the cleaning for this. Doesn't take much time, and I will just close and apply, and we'll be back in Power BI desktop. So I'm just going to create a measure that we would need, which is the population share, the average of the population share. So once I click on new measure, I will just name it population share. And then I'll get the average of the share of population, basically. And there we go. I hit enter, but then I also want it to be in percentage. Remember that we converted the percentage to fraction. That we have the measure. Before adding any visuals, let's set up our layout. I'll just go here under visualizations, and then you can see canvas settings. I already have it as custom 1980 pixels and 1080 pixels. So that's the
the canvas setting. So I'm also going to change the canvas background here. So I'll just click on color here and then more colors because I have a particular color in mind. The hex code is 6A4C9C. So yeah, that's what I have in mind. And then I will just change the transparency as well to, let's do 78. Then we'll go ahead to put a text box that has the title. I will just increase that a little bit and then reduce this as well. I will just put in the that in mind. So the name we're using here is mental health overview. I'll just type that mental health overview. So you might not see it, but we would resize it. So I know it's between 1990 to 2019. So I'm just going to resize this to, let's say, 40. Yeah. And change this. You can always do this later. I just like to do it as I go along. And I'll also change the color as well to this. So then the next thing we'll do is we'll move on to adding the slicers here. We'll make all of these adjustments much later. So I'll add a slicer. So the slicer I'm adding here would be here. We'll just move this. And then we have that, but I don't want this. Just going to change this to drop down and resize it as well. For the next slicer, it will be for the continent. So I'll just copy this particular slicer. So once you have it selected, you can just copy and then paste. I will drag that down and then just change the field in there from countries to, I mean from year to continent. But because I don't want the same type of slicer for continent, I'll also go here and I'll change it to a vertical list. Okay, and just drag that down to what suits me best. Okay, and then the last slicer that we have would be the disorder. Click out. This time around, I'm using the tile slicer and I want it to be somewhere around here. So I just need to put in the disorder. We need to make some adjustments, obviously. We'll change this to rounded rectangle and then we'll reduce the rounded corners to about 10 pixels. Okay, and then just keep making changes. For this one, I want a single row. Okay, and because I want all of the disorders to be displayed, I'm going to change the maximum buttons to 6, or rather 7. Oh yeah, it was 6. And then I'll also reduce the space between the buttons. Okay, I'll reduce that as well. I'll come here and I'll turn off the title. I'm just going to make a few changes here to the call out values. You can see it's so tiny right now, so I just want to change the fonts and what happens to it in different states. So this is the default state. I'm changing that to this one, and then I'll increase it to 14. And that's the default state, okay? So when we hover, we want it to also have a little bit of an effect. So I'll change that to italics when we hover across it. Okay. And then the last one would be when we select it. So I'll change that to bold when we select, And then the text would also be here. So let's try that now. So we select it and then it turns to white. The font color is white and then the button is black. So just like that, we'll come back to formatting more. So with these filters or with these slicers, you can interact with your data more. Now let's add the bar chart. Okay, so we'll go back, click out, and then we'll just get the clustered bar chart, position it somewhere here, make some adjustments much later. So we're going for the countries, top 5 countries by population share. So we'll put in the countries here and then we get the measure as well. This, we have to do like an advanced filtering here. So you see this filters pane here. You just need to select on the countries and then underneath it you'd see filter type and then you can click on top N. So top N basically just shows the top 5, maybe top 10, top depending on what you want. So I'm going to do top 5 here. So top 5 will be by population share. So there we have it. And then we apply filter. And there we have it. I would change the bars as well, just because I don't want it to look this way. So I'll click here and then I just want to change the bars to the right color. So next thing we'll do is the map. And for that, we will use shape map. So for this, you need to also go to file and ensure that your shape map setting is turned on. So if you go to file options and settings options, so you need to ensure that under preview features, your shape map is ticked. And I'll just click on OK, it was already ticked anyway, so just cancel that. I would select shape map now. Just adjust it a little bit here. For the location, we'll be using countries, and then for the color saturation, we'll be using the population share. This right now is showing us a different map. So I'm going to import a custom map. I would also add that to the description. We'll just go to the map, the format visual, and then map settings, and then change the map type to custom map. I'm going to browse for the file now. And here we have it, countries.json. So you can see the map here, but I want it to be a different shape. And then I'm going to change this to orthographic, right? You can change it to whichever one suits you. You can have it like this, you can have it this way, and then you can also have it as orthographic, but this is what I was looking for. Then I'll change the fill color as well. So I want this one to be the maximum, and then I also change the minimum here. I have a color in mind, so I'm just going to put the hex code, but you can use what suits you. So mine is DCCEF1. So yep, that's what I was looking for. That's the population by countries. So it makes it easy for you to see which regions are most affected when you make a selection, but we'll have a look at that. Now we'll do a line chart. So, or a line chart or an area chart. Anyways, I'm going the area chart. Then just move this here. I would still resize this much later. And so we'll use the values we're using here is the year, and then we have the population share, of course. I'm changing the line color, and that would automatically change the area color as well. This is still under the settings here, and then you come under line and then color, change this to the same color that we had previously. So that has changed. And then lastly, be the disorders in a bar chart, or I mean in a column chart, sorry. So just drag that here as well. So we have disorders, and then we have the population share again. Once again, we need to go back and change the columns. So change the column, and there we have it. So this is it, but there's still a little bit more for us to do. Just a few finishing touches. I'm just going to resize some of the visuals and align them properly as well. So I'll just click on the text box here and then go to size. I'm going to resize this to, let's do 978 and 98. So just, it really does depend on you, really. Whatever suits you, whatever works best for you, you can do. So I'm just going to move it a little bit, just a little bit here. And then I'm going to move on to, and then I'm going to align this. Let's align it here. Okay, no, just align it a little bit. Just adjust it. Okay, then we would come on here and change the size of this slicer. Change the title, or rather the values. So I'm going to change that to 14 and then make that, change that as well to this font. Okay, so when you see it now, you see that it has changed. And then I'm going to change the slicer header as well to this font and then change the size to 16. So because I don't want to have to repeat that for this other slicer, I'm just going to click on the year slicer, hit format painter rather, and then do this. I also want to make the corners well rounded. I didn't do that, I'll just do it now. So just come to this and then general, and then it should be under get background. So we will turn on the visual border, okay, and then increase this to 10 pixels. Always change it from here, and then I'll change the color as well to white, just so it has the roundness. And then I'll do the same thing I did previously, format painter, and then this. So I'll increase this as well, just a little bit, and then I'll move this down. To do the same for this bar chart, I'm going to also make the corners rounded as well and change the font. We'll do the same thing. So just right under effects, turn on the visual border and then change it to white, increase the rounded corners to 10 pixels, and that should do it. If you see this now, that's already changed. You can see that the corners are slightly rounded compared to these other visuals. I'm not done with that. I want to change the text there. I'm going to turn off the values for the y and the x axis here. Just turn that off. Oh, not the values, I meant to say the title. And then I'll do the same for the x axis as well. I would also change the values, the size of the values. I'm changing it to this font, and then I'm also increasing it to 13. I'll do the same thing for the x-axis as well. Take your UI light and then 13. I'm also going to turn on the data labels as well. So I want the data labels to show inside the bar chart. So that's that. And lastly, I will also change the size of the title to, let's do this one, and then let's do 16. Okay. What I just need to do now is use Format Painter to get this format that I've used here for the other visuals. So let's do that. So now they all have the same font size and font type. So I'm just going to align it as well, just increase a few of them. Make sure that they have the right spacing. So you can just play around with this till you think is well aligned. Okay, so this looks okay to me. The last thing I'm going to be doing is ensuring that everything is interacting properly. So for instance, if I click on anxiety, you see how this is, it just doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to go to format here and edit interactions. So I don't want certain slicers to filter certain visuals. So what you need to do in this instance is click here. Once you've selected this slicer, you just need to hit this none so it doesn't interact with it. And then I'll just tap out. Do the same thing for this one. Go to format here. I don't want this filter to interact with this visual, and then I'll hit this just to make sure, just to avoid it not coming up that way. I also don't want the map visual to filter this one, so I'm going to change that as well. So just hit this, go to format, and then edit interaction. Then I'm going to stop this. So once I click on this, it doesn't affect this particular one. You can just see the share. So for instance, I select, let's say, what country is this? China, and then we can see the anxiety population share here. So there's that. So I'm just going to have a quick look at everything to make sure. So when you select Asia, you can see it's filtering everything. You select Africa, you have the population share by countries, and then Asia, Europe, you have the same, North America, the same, South America. So you can always filter anyhow you prefer to filter it, and then once you click out as well. I will be renaming this visuals, every single one of them. So you can rename it to what you think best suits it and what you know would be easy for your audience to understand. So I'm just renaming this one to be top 5 countries of health prevalence. So I'll do the same thing for the map, the line chart, and the column chart. And just like that, we have a fully interactive report. So you can play around with it, do whatever pleases you. Have a look at what colors you can try on. Just have a good time with it. So you can filter by year. You can see that it keeps changing. And once you just click out, it takes you back to all. We can filter by continent, And then you can see it also changing on the map as well. You can also filter by the type of disorder, and when you hover across it, you can see that that changes as well. So I'm just going to save this. So if I save as, let's say, mental health overview, and then I just pick file and then I save. So that's basically it. You can also publish as well, but since I published it to my own Power BI service, I'm not going to do that again. So you can publish your reports. Let me know if you try this out in the comment section.
If you found this video helpful, share it with someone else. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment about what you think. And thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.